This is Talk Sport Extra Time. I'm Mike Graham, and I'm delighted to say that it's the second appearance of the week for Mr. Mike Porky Parry as one half, or I don't know if it's 40% perhaps of the two Mikes. A very good morning to you.
40%?
Yeah, like 60-40 split. You know, when they tell you to start a company, they always say, whatever you do, don't make it 50-50, because if you do, there's always a problem. Somebody needs to be the 51 to 49, something like that.
OK, well, first of all, welcome, Mike. Thank you for the welcome, and hello, it's good to see you in the morning. I understand exactly what you're saying about the 60-40 split, because looking at the volume of this studio and how much you fill up, that is definitely a 60-40 split in your favour.
Yeah,
okay.
I would say so, in terms of height as well.
No, certainly not in intelligence, just in body mass.
Yes, indeed. Well, I'll take any lead I can have over you.
OK.
Well, let's talk about a team that doesn't have a lead over anybody, and that's Tottenham Hotspur. You were here on Monday night, railing with some veracity about Daniel Levy. Some people were shocked at the amount of passion you seem to have for a team that isn't actually yours.
Yes, but you see, you've got completely the wrong angle on this, like everybody else.
What do you mean?
Because we shouldn't be talking about the team, Spurs, Tottenham Hotspur. We should be talking about the club, Tottenham Hotspur Football Club.
Okay.
Who's running it, why bad decisions have been made over the past decade, and the answer, of course, is Mr. Levy. Mr. Levy is a hired hand in that, although he has an interest in the club, he is in fact employed by the owner of the club, Joe Lewis, named today as one of the 10 richest men, British men of all time, right? Yeah, behind the Duke of Westminster and people like that, you know. Fortune
this is a bit I don't get.
$3 or $4
why does he not have this drawn to his attention? Because, I mean, lots of Spurs fans are starting to agree with you, funnily enough, that it's all down to Daniel Levy.
I raised the hue and cry about this, you know, and I've been raising the hue and cry about it for seasons.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, some people can see over the hedge to the next door garden.
Yeah,
on these sort of issues, I can see over the Himalayas.
Really?
Okay? I can see over the Himalayas
where
the problem is.
Telescope.
Where the problem is, and the problem is in the boardroom. And Mr. Levy struts around like a peacock, and he makes decisions.
He wasn't looking very happy last night. There's always that same. He's got that expression on his face whenever the camera pans to him as he's sitting in the stand.
Yeah,
it's always the same. Completely deadpan.
Completely
deadpan. He never
looks
happy. He never looks
blank
upset.
Expression. He's never given an interview, as far as I know. But he goes around making crazy decisions, in my view, or allegedly crazy. If you think that that's a defamatory accusation.
Well, you haven't called him crazy. You've just said it's a crazy decision. I think that's allowable.
Yeah, I think that's allowable.
The legal department would be fine with that.
Yeah, I think that's allowable. And the result of it is that managers have to work within those crazy decisions. Now, Tim Sherwood, to me, is the most honourable man in football.
Is he?
He's been asked to take on a task which is now impossible, to put right what his predecessors, and I mean plural, not just the guy who preceded him, maybe,
but hang on, he's been with Tottenham Hotspur Football Club as a club for a very long time, has he not?
Working on the youth
Doesn't
policy.
matter. Doesn't matter.
On the youth policy.
But
Has nothing to do with the first team.
He's still been part of the organisation.
Well, I'm sorry, but what I'm saying is he was catapulted into a job over which he'd had no control whatsoever in his previous years at the club. He's done the job with fortitude, with strength, with courage, with a face-on approach.
Yeah, but without an awful lot of guile.
Difficult
you'd have to say without an awful lot of guile.
No, I think he has
as a football manager, you need guile more than anything else.
I think he has guile.
Because he made a mistake, I think, in being quite so vociferous about having to go at the players.
That's nonsense.
Because the players clearly tonight were so concerned about showing how much heart they had and how much character they had, they forgot what they were supposed to be doing with the ball.
Nonsensical rubbish. And if you have a look in this morning's Daily Mirror, my very good pal, Robbie Savage, who writes a column in it.
He's a good pal of yours, is he?
Very good pal of mine.
Oh, really?
Robbie actually says, what does he say? Tim Wright to flay his flops. He says, good on Tim Sherwood for wearing his heart on his sleeve and hammering his team in public after their abject surrender at Chelsea.
Has he written that like 2 days before this game last night?
If it's good enough for Robbie, it's good enough for me.
Yeah,
okay?
well, I'm quite happy.
I'm
quite happy to take you and Robbie Savage on, because I think he's entirely wrong. Because he already wrote that before the game last night. Because
of course he did. He was talking about flaying his players after the Chelsea game.
Yeah, well, that's out of date then. Why is he writing in the paper that's out of date?
Not out of date.
The proof of the pudding of whether Tim Sherwood was right or not was how the players were going to perform last night against Benfica, right?
Yeah.
When I saw them as they started off, I thought, well, at least they showed some heart, they showed some character, they're playing with a great deal of courage, but they were playing without any clue.
Mike,
no clue.
I know you don't have much command of the English language, but let me give you this.
Right.
You cannot turn a sow's ear into a silk purse. Have you ever heard that expression?
I have heard it, yes.
Right, okay.
Not for about 100 years.
That's what Tim Sherwood has been asked to do.
Actually, you can't make a silk purse out of a sow's ear, is the correct version of it.
I'm sorry, I was giving you the original version from 1823.
Really?
Now, what I'm saying is that, you know, Tim Sherwood suddenly had to take control of a bunch of players who were confused, who were mismatched, who didn't know how to play together.
Well, and now he's turned them into a bunch of players who are mismatched, confused, and can't play together.
And make them a cohesive unit. Okay?
Well, he hasn't done that, has he?
He has made them a cohesive unit to the best of his ability, and now people are trying to flame and saying, well, his approach to get hard with the players. I mean, what do they want him to do? What do they want him to do? Go around serving the tea at half-time instead of telling the players to get themselves together, get their act together and get on with the job? No.
Listen, I don't think what he said was wrong. I don't think by doing that was a mistake. However, he dragged it all the way through the week so that he didn't stop at Sunday when he talked to all the papers after the game against Chelsea. He gave a press conference on Wednesday and he went on about it again.
Yes,
and I think that was his mistake.
At least he didn't backtrack on it. That's what an awful lot of managers do in the heat.
No, but he should have just said that was last weekend. The players have got the message. Now we're going to look ahead to the Benfica game, and that's all we need to talk about.
In the heat of battle, managers can say these sort of things and lash out their players, and then 2 days later, after a training ground meeting and all that, was a bit hard on the lads. No, he's been absolutely and utterly consistent. My view is that if Tim Sherwood is relieved of his responsibilities at the end of this season,
it looks likely, doesn't it?
Of course, it looks likely because Mr. Levy likes going around sacking players.
How about this?
Sacking managers. Sorry, he doesn't like it, but he consistently does it.
Calm down. What if he sacks him after they lose to Arsenal at the weekend? Because that's a possibility, isn't it?
I would say that's most unlikely. Even Mr. Levy can't get 3 managers in one season and expect to be taken. Well, I'm not sure if he is taken seriously by the Spurs fans. But what I'm saying is, if Tim Sherwood goes at the end of the season, Spurs' loss will be another club's gain. That for sure is what's going to happen, For sure.
Why are you speaking like a German tourist?
No, for sure. By the way, I saw a report today saying that Roberto Martinez, been lined up as the next Arsenal manager.
What?
How come is it that all Everton managers go on to be selected to run, some of the biggest clubs in the world?
All Everton managers?
Well, Davy Moyes.
Anyone else?
Yeah.
Where did Harry Kendall go after Everton?
He went
down the pub, didn't he?
No. He went to Spain and ran that club that can only choose players from its own region.
Oh, Athletic Bilbao.
Yeah, well done, Bilbao.
I didn't know he was a Basque.
Well, he's not a Basque, but
how can they have a manager from Merseyside?
Well, it's not a rule that applies to the manager. It applies to the players who play for the club. Right. And he wanted to go into Europe. We were banned because of the Hazel tragedy.
Any other Everton managers gone to big clubs then?
Yeah, of course. Of course. Billy Bingham.
Billy Bingham?
Yeah.
Well, he went to Northern Ireland, I suppose.
Yes, he did, absolutely.
That's not a big club, is it?
Well, it's a big job. It's a big
manager
job,
of Northern Ireland? Are you serious?
International manager. An international manager is an international manager. Yeah. And stop denigrating Northern Ireland because it's people like you putting these little countries down. They deserve their...
little country?
They deserve their place
It's not a little country. It's a principality of the United Kingdom, surely.
Well, they are actually recognised as a country by FIFA. That's why they wear the shirts and go out and play against other countries. Okay, and don't you be putting these little countries down. They deserve their place amongst the FIFA family.
Yeah, okay.
Or within.
Well, I don't believe the story about Martinez going to Arsenal. I don't think Arsene Wenger's going anywhere to prefer.
No, I don't think he is either. But nevertheless, the speculation's there because Martinez has done such a good job at Everton. What do you reckon on old Eric Cantona?
Well, it's astonishing to see that story last night. Came creeping in over the wires early this morning. Got involved in some kind of fracas outside a pub that I used to drink in, funnily enough, called the Queen's. It's in Regent's Park Road in Primrose Hill, which is a very, very trendy part of London.
Is this where the Gallagher brothers live and all that sort of stuff?
It's where they used to. I think one of them's now moved out. I think Noel still lives there. It used to be the home of, like Sadie Frost used to live there. There was a whole set of them. Kate Moss used to have a house there. Yeah. And you'd wander into the pub at any given time.
Trendy.
And the houses were worth sort of a couple of £1 million. Yeah. Were opposite, Very, very nice part of London. It's been referred to as Camden. But apparently, at about sort of midnight last night, there was some kind of altercation between Mr. Cantona and another gentleman.
Midnight?
Yeah, it was around about midnight.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah, it was.
No, it was daytime.
Was it?
It was daytime. They were sitting outside a pub. He was sitting there with a young lady who's not his wife, but I'm not inferring that there was anything sinister going on. Yeah. But he took objection to somebody taking his picture. Now, that's rich for a man who left the world of football, which is celebrity-ridden, to go into the movies. And the object of being in the movie...
And also he does that advert as well, doesn't he?
Yes, that's right. Well, that's what I'm saying. You have cameras pointing at you all the time. Yeah. So suddenly get upset because somebody's pointing a camera at you, and then to take it to the extent where somebody rings the police and you get shuffled away in the back of a police car...
Yeah, but the man apparently wasn't injured, so it couldn't have been that serious. Because, if Eric Cantona's going to whack you, as per what we've seen before, I don't think you'd be uninjured, would you?
No, you wouldn't be uninjured. And by the way, he drew attention to himself because he's put a bit of weight on. he's carrying a bit of timber since his days. The other guy who is allegedly not able to behave himself too well in public is Banter.
Nicholas Banter, yeah.
Now,
he took his belt off and started hitting a taxi with it, right?
It was worse than that. He simulated a sexual act against a taxi.
Did he?
Yeah. Did you know this?
No, I know he took his belt off and his trousers may have been down.
That's
but
true.
I was told that he started beating the taxi with his belt.
Well, he beat the taxi with his belt, but according to the taxi driver, and I've read this report thoroughly to make sure I didn't get it wrong, he simulated a sexual act and made out that he was performing some sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? Human practice against an inanimate object, which was a taxi.
Why don't you just pay the fare like everybody else?
I don't know, but
Very strange.
And by the way, this happened in the wonderful Copenhagen, which is one of my favourite cities in the world, because that sort of thing doesn't happen in Copenhagen.
Well, actually, Copenhagen's quite a mysterious place. I remember a story once about a guy whose name I will not reveal, but he used to work for the Daily Express. He was quite an esteemed political correspondent. And a bunch of people had gone on a trip with one of the prime ministers or something like that to Copenhagen.
Right.
And everything was going fine and dandy, and then the evening sort of drew to a close, and some of the guys were going out for a drink. This guy disappeared and said, I think I'm going to have an early night, and I'm not going to, and Denmark's quite a famous city for brothels and sex shops.
I wouldn't know about that.
Well, it is. It's like a bit like Holland, right? Yeah,
I've been there a few times. I've never been in one or seen one.
Well, maybe you haven't. But anyway, this guy obviously had other ideas, and this mate of mine who was on his way back to the hotel at about midnight pressed the button for the lift, and the lift kind of doors just went bing, opened up, and here was this guy who was very straight-laced, very happily married, dressed from head to toe in leather.
What?
Leather cap.
No.
A leather shirt with no sleeves.
What, you're talking about sort of dominatrix? What's it called?
S&M.
What's that?
S&M.
Dominatrix.
He wasn't dressed as dominatrix. That would be a woman.
Oh, I see.
But he wasn't dressed as a woman.
Right.
But he had very tight leather sort of chaps on. And as he walked out of the lift, he realised that they didn't have a backside on them. So he was wearing these black leather chaps with nothing.
Naked buttocks?
Yeah.
You're joking.
I'm not joking.
This is a ridiculous story. Didn't he fear that somebody who knew him might see him in the lobby of the hotel?
No, because he thought everybody had gone somewhere else. And he was on his way off, obviously, to a do somewhere.
Not intoxicated?
No.
Must have been to dress like that.
No, because in Copenhagen there are places where you can go to be entertained in that fashion.
God.
I'm amazed you don't know about it.
No, I don't know about it. No, a terrible story.
It's a terrible
story. I hope I never worked with this person.
I'm afraid you did. I'm going to tell you who it is in a minute, but I won't do it here.
Oh, my God.
We are the Two Mics. There will be more tales of the unexpected coming up next on TalkSport. We are the Two Mics. There'll be an iTunes podcast coming out a bit later on. Just go to iTunes and look for the Two Mics. Mike, I wanted to ask you about driving because we haven't talked about your car for a while. I don't know whether it's settled down.
Why do you want to talk about my car?
Well, because there's been so much wrong with it. I mean, you've only had it a few months and it was steaming from the engine. That you were getting punctures all the time. You had to fix the valve, I think, on it at one stage. Yeah. And there was something I was start talking to you in German or something, wasn't it? There was something else going on.
The sat nav was talking to me in German, unfortunately. Yeah, but
did something hit the windscreen?
Do you know what? Hey, that's funny you should say that. Something did hit the windscreen. I can't remember what it was. But the other night I was going home after being in here with you on another very enjoyable mission to entertain and inform the millions of people who listen to TalkSport on a regular basis.
They like your history lessons particularly.
Yes,
they love
that's
there's a shtick about Marie Antoinette and her black teeth.
Yes, well, it wasn't. I wasn't trying to be rude to Marie Antoinette. It's been dead a long time, obviously, but nevertheless, that was historical.
That would explain the teeth.
No, here, mate, you won't believe this. So I go past these ponds in Surrey. It's Carshalton, actually, which is sort of getting towards, getting out of Great London, Surrey, that sort of stuff.
Ponds like what, for swimming in?
No, ponds that accommodate all sorts of wildlife, like ducks and geese and all this kind of stuff. And you won't believe this. You will not believe this. The pond where most of my ducks live is a good 7 or 8 miles away, okay? Much further.
So these are different ponds?
These are different ponds, yeah. And down into Surrey. No, right, and on that one, we have a resident crane, that sits on top of the duck house. It's there all the time. It sometimes flits off to a pond nearby, which is about a mile away, but generally speaking, cranes don't go far.
So any point to this story?
Yes, the point is, I was driving past the Carshalton pond 7 or 8 miles away the other night. The blinking crane must have recognised my car because it came flying off the ponds and straight at me, head on. Yeah, it was frightening. It was terrifying, honestly.
You don't think it was a different crane?
No, it was definitely the same crane. There's only one crane.
How do you recognise it?
Well, it looks like a crane and there's only one crane. I've never seen more than one.
It looks like a crane, walks like a crane, it must be a crane.
It must be a crane. Anyway, I'm not sure why we're talking about that. There's nothing wrong with my car, thank you.
No, the reason I wanted to ask you about this is because you know how we like to keep an eye on how things are going on the roads of Britain, right? Now, there's a report that's just come out, which I was reading yesterday, the Road Safety Markings Association, and what they're saying is that all the white lines on most of the roads in this country are fading away to such an extent that actually you can't see them.
They are
It's really dangerous. They say most markings on motorways, 42% on dual carriageways, and 48% on single carriageways in England need some paint immediately. Otherwise, people are going to start crashing their cars.
Definitely right. And let me tell you where it happens worst of all. Yeah. And again, this is allied to the pothole damage that cars have to suffer. Yeah. Because of these crazies at local authorities who want what's it called? Traffic management or something?
Calming.
Traffic calming, thanks, that's the word. Traffic calming.
Well, they probably used all the paint up, putting all those chevrons in.
Yeah, they probably have, yeah. But what they do is they build the road up around zebra crossings and this sort of thing, or sometimes not even a zebra crossing, just because they think cars go too fast.
Zebra crossings.
Yeah, zebra crossings.
Zebra.
And what they do is they have these sleeping policeman type things, and they're supposed to put white arrows to indicate to you that the level of the road's gone.
Otherwise you don't know it's there.
It's a good job I come the same route in and out every time I come to talk sport.
Yeah.
Because it's often at night. Because if I didn't, I'd have smashed my car to pieces by now. Because these white lines, these white arrows, which were painted years ago, have faded completely. I mean, can't they work it out that if a rubber tyre goes over white paint often enough, it's going to turn the white paint to black? Because tyres are actually black and they're rubber, and the blackness in the rubber comes off and comes onto the white. Therefore, you have no white arrows.
The elements will wear it down as well.
Yeah, but it's outrageous.
Presumably, these parts that you're talking about are probably lit with street lights. For me, it's a lot more dangerous out in the country where you're driving down a road, like say, a B road or an A road.
Well, why would they have a traffic calming measure there anyway?
No, they don't. But you can't see the white lines, is what I'm saying. They don't have any cat's eyes, so you actually don't know where the middle of the road is.
Well, I know where the middle of the road is. It's usually about 4 feet from the left-hand side of my car.
Is it?
Yes.
4 feet from the left-hand side of your car.
Yeah.
So that's how you judge where the middle of the road is.
Well, of course you do.
Surely you should judge the middle of the road from the right-hand side of the car.
No, not at all.
Where you're sitting.
Not at all.
Your driving position is in the middle of the road.
Your driving position is not in the middle of the road. If your driving position is in the middle of the road, you're going to hit another car coming the other way.
You know what I mean? It's in the middle.
No, I don't know what you mean.
Your driving position is on the left-hand lane. Going in that direction, right, the forward direction, and so where you sit on the right hand side of the car is where the white line is.
That's nonsense. What you have to work out is how close is the passenger door and wheel to the left side of the road, so you can get as close to the left side of the road as possible. That's the way to drive, and that's what you have to measure. Of course it is.
That's absolute rubbish.
It's not rubbish.
Anyway, my point is if you can't see where the line is in the middle of the road, you're very liable to have an accident because you don't know where the middle of the road is.
What you often get is you get people repairing roads, which is very rare, by the way, in this country. Roads ever get repaired.
Well, they cone it off, but there's nobody there.
No, there's nobody there. They're not repairing anything. Then you get a sign for about the next 6 months which says no line markings or something like that. Beware or something like that. And I suppose that gets them out of jail if two cars run into each other because, like you, they rely on a white line. I remember once, right, when I was at school, I was about 18 or something, and a mate of mine got very badly injured because he had a Mini that his parents had bought him, and it was dense fog. Actually, it was very foggy this morning. Don't know about you. I was out feeding my ducks this morning. I could barely see them.
You mean yesterday morning?
Yesterday morning, that's right. Barely see them.
Yeah, well, I
dense.
posted a picture on social media of some ducks in a foggy part of where I was in London, and they didn't look that fogged in. It wasn't a problem.
Mate, this was deep as Surrey, where fog really hangs like a blanket.
It's not that different.
Anyway,
it's not like a different weather zone, is it?
Point my story is, a mate of mine did what you've just indicated you should do, and in thick fog, going to a party, he thought, I better follow the white line, and he had the white line in the middle of his bonnet.
No, that's not the way to do it.
Hang on.
That's not what I'm suggesting.
The only problem was he'd already mounted the pavement and the white line was in fact the curb, and he drove straight into a lamppost, which then cracked in two and fell on top of the car.
This was one of these famously intelligent kids that you went to school with.
That's
this amazing school of yours was full of brilliant, brainy people.
Yeah.
What a moron.
I mean, he couldn't help it. That was which other way could you do it in thick fog? But anyway,
best not to drive in thick fog.
Car was written off. He went through the windscreen. It was a bit of a mess, I'm telling you.
Yeah, I bet it was.
He didn't get to the party.
No, I'm sure. The two mics will be back with more nonsense next on TalkSport.
TalkSport. On air, online and on TV at Sky Channel 0108.
Today you and I are not the same. You say you like the sun, I like the rain.
This is Talk Sports Extra Time. I'm Mike Graham. He is Mike Parry. We are together, the two Mikes. We don't agree on an awful lot of things, but occasionally we find some common ground. What are you doing this weekend, by the way? Because I've got a story I want to talk to you about cinema going.
Cinema going.
Planning on visiting any movies this weekend?
Well, I'm going to go to the movies. A, there's a great film I've got to see, so I can keep up with common culture.
And you've already seen The Wolfman of Wall Street,
I've seen The Wolfman of Wall Street. Also seen The American Hustle, which was rubbish.
Yeah, we've only seen half of it.
Utter rubbish. I saw Gravity, which...
Did you like that?
Well, it was all right, but I mean, it was, it was a one-trick pony film because it was like I'm stranded in space. Yeah. Now how do I get home? Yeah. And all these special effects. I mean, I was looking at it thinking that looks like a kid's bedroom. You know what I mean? Yeah. It looked to me like something done on a computer.
It was all done on a computer.
Yeah, but it looked like a computer. It didn't look like the Earth to me.
But surely the point of the story was about what they were saying to each other and how they were interacting. Nothing to do with actually the background of it.
It was crazy. And at one stage, she got deluded and George Clooney came back, and was knocking on the outside door of the spaceship, let me in. It was a bit balmy. Anyway, look, that's by the by. Point is, I should be making my debut in shorts this weekend.
Really?
But yeah, well, if the weather's today is
I
like
remember meeting you once
yesterday.
In shorts. It was a bit of a shock because they're very long shorts that you wear, aren't they?
Well, I've got long, medium, short. It depends on what the weather's like. And the point is, it gives you so much more ability to walk at pace, which is what I like to do to keep the heart ticking over.
You don't like the hot weather much, though, do you?
Well, it's hard walking in the hot weather with long trousers, so I've got to keep walking to keep my heart in shape, to keep me alive, to keep me, buzzing and going.
Why don't you not bother this weekend then?
Sorry?
Why don't you just not bother this weekend?
I shall ignore that. Now, talking about the cinema and all that, you were telling me that if I do go, I should avoid popcorn.
That's right.
What are you on about?
Yeah, because I don't know what you do when you go to the cinema, apart from find the wrong movie, basically. But cinemas have been slammed, according to this story here, for selling super-sized snacks, and with evidence that one box of popcorn can contain up to, wait for it, 35 teaspoonfuls of sugar. Do you get popcorn at the cinema?
No. The only place I eat popcorn in the cinema is in America, where I love the butter stuff they put on the top, right? Yeah. But that makes your hands all greasy.
You get that here?
Yeah, it's not the same.
It's all sweet. You get sweet or salted popcorn. I only ever get salted popcorn.
Yeah, it tastes different to me in New York than it does here. But I can't believe that. I mean, hang on, let me just work that out. 35 teaspoons. Did you say?
It would be like a mountain, wouldn't it? If you just imagine putting your teaspoon into a bag of sugar and doing it 35 times out onto the counter.
Well, hang on. Look at it this way. If you were having a cup of coffee and you put 35 teaspoonfuls of sugar in it, there wouldn't be any room for the coffee, literally.
No, you'd shove it all out the thing, and it can't be very good for you either.
That shouldn't be allowed.
No.
There should be a law against ingesting that much sugar at one time.
Well, there isn't a law against it. I don't think there should be a law against it. Why don't you just not eat it?
I would never shove all that amount of sugar in my body at once. It would be an outrage.
But you probably do without knowing it, because
I
mean, do you drink Coca-Cola at all?
No.
You don't ever drink any kind of, fizzy drink of any kind? Well, you drink Red Bull. That's got sugar in it, isn't it?
Well, a bit. I only have one of those a day on a 2 or 3 days a week.
Do you ever have ice cream?
No, but I tell you what. On the soft drinks, right? Only today I got my weekly stock of ginger beer. Some weeks it's dandelion and burdock. Other weeks it's cream soda. I believe.
Well, do you not think there's any sugar in any of that?
Well, the thing is, I buy these with the label on them, which says no added sugar.
Well, added sugar doesn't mean no sugar. No, it just means they haven't added any more.
No, but these
idiot.
No. But what I'm saying
is,
added
sugar means there's nothing added, but there's loads of sugar in it already.
I get the low calorie, no added sugar drinks, right? And that's why I look like I look, and you must get the the full sugar calorie added drinks.
No, actually, I don't. Funnily enough, I don't take any sugar at all. I used to take 4 teaspoons of sugar in my tea.
I don't take any sugar in tea.
When I was a kid, but there was a sugar shortage when I was about 12. And my mother said to me...
Sugar shortage?
There was a sugar shortage, yeah.
Don't you remember that? I'm about the same age as you. I don't remember a sugar shortage.
It was back in the days of the 3-day week and all that.
That's a load of
nonsense. And there was no electricity.
What happened? All the ships to the Caribbean suddenly stopped coming or something?
Yeah, there was a 3-day week. The dockers were on strike. My coal miners were on strike. Well, you don't remember that?
You know where I live, down on the coast? I see this boat go past all the time, and it's...
Has it got a crane on it?
No, it's the Fifeys boat.
Oh, yeah.
And it brings all the
bananas.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It brings Britain's...
Do you remember that story about the guy who ran Fifeys?
Well, I was just saying.
5 times a night.
It was what?
He was. The headline was 5 times a night because he was having an affair with some woman. who claimed that they had sex 5 times a night.
What, the Fifies guys?
Yeah.
Well, the reason Fifies come to the news this week is they've just bought some other banana company.
So now it's the big banana company.
Now they're the biggest banana company in the world,
Yeah.
which means the boats will get bigger. But you want to see this boat that goes past. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. It's a container boat,
Right.
and it's full of containers, which are full
Well, it
of
would be.
bananas.
Yeah.
So, like, millions and millions of bananas coming into the country every week. And I see it go past all the time. I always
Yeah.
wave at the guy. He waves back at me.
You wave at him?
Yeah, you wave at
Does
people.
he throw bananas at you?
No, he doesn't throw bananas at me. But I mean, anyway, look, we're getting on to sugar and all that. I think that should be banned.
Yeah.
The only thing I eat when I go into cinemas
Yeah.
is a few pick and mixers.
Pick and mix, which doesn't have any sugar in it at all.
Well, it has a bit, but it doesn't have 35 teaspoonfuls in,
Well, it
does it?
depends what you have. I mean, what do you get in your pick and mix?
Well, if you get licorice all sorts,
Yeah.
right?
Is there no sugar in licorice all sorts?
Of course, there's a bit of sugar in them, but if you get one little licorice all sort, which has got 3 layers of whatever it is.
Licorice.
No, 2 bits of licorice and
There's
3
a sugar
bits of
coating.
Yeah, or whatever, I mean, it can't be 35 sugars of.
I think you might be surprised.
35 teaspoonfuls of sugar in that, because if there was, you wouldn't get it in your mouth, would you?
Yeah, you would.
No, you wouldn't.
Well, yeah, but it's the melted down sugar. Anyway, the point is that I don't actually eat very much sugar at all. I don't put sugar in my tea. I don't put sugar in my coffee.
So-
I don't drink sugary drinks of
So
any
where,
kind.
where does your excess weight come from, then?
My
And that's a
excess
serious
weight?
question, yeah.
I don't have any excess weight.
Oh, rubbish.
What are we talking about?
What about all these pictures you've been putting out today?
What?
Well, how long ago were those pictures taken?
Oh, well, the thing was, I found a box of stuff, right? Because, in moving house, there's always a box of stuff that kind of gets lost. And the box of stuff had never been opened for about 8 years.
Right.
So I brought it up to London. I thought, I better open this and see
Open
what's
the
in it.
box.
So
Who
I opened
said
the
that?
box. Opened the box.
Open
It
the box.
It was Michael Miles.
Michael
wasn't it?
Miles, that's
Yeah.
right. Yeah, I'll open the box.
What,
That's
wasn't,
it.
what was the show? It wasn't Opportunity Knocks. It was the other one.
No, it was Open the Box. That's what it was called, wasn't
No,
it?
I think it had a different name.
Wasn't it? Wasn't the special box 13 or something?
I can't
And
remember.
Open the Box.
Yeah, but it wasn't called Open the Box.
I think
Anyway,
it was. Yeah.
Anyway, so I opened
Cool.
it up, and it was all this stuff that I hadn't seen since I'd been in Scotland, which was a very long time ago. I think I left Scotland in about 2008, right? So 6 years ago. But
It was
also,
8 years ago, a few minutes ago.
Eh?
You said 8 years ago.
I said 6 years ago.
No, you said 8 years ago, about 3 minutes ago. Anyway, it's 6 years now.
I left Scotland 6 years ago. Some of the pictures actually date back to much older than that, because some of them are actually pictures of me as a child. So I posted one. I don't know if you saw that one of me in the boat wearing a kind of a red sou'wester.
Well, the point I'm making about these pictures is you looked considerably thinner then than you do now.
No, that's not
so
true.
I repeat the question,
No.
where does all your excess weight
It's not
come from?
true.
If you don't
Actually,
ingest
no,
sugar,
I've
what do
been
you
about-
ingest?
no, I've been
I
about
mean,
the same
you
weight.
like a burger, don't you?
No, not particularly.
Yes, you do.
I like food. I cook food.
And you like...
I eat very healthily.
The time we went to Brentford, which you keep reminding me
Yeah.
about, because Brentford won that night, you
Yeah.
had 2 burgers that night.
That's true, I did, yeah. Because I hadn't had any lunch.
Oh, I hadn't had any lunch, but most days you didn't have any lunch. Anyway,
Anyway, so this is not about you personally attacking me for being allegedly overweight. The point is, there's a great. Did you see a picture of me tackling Ali McCoist? That was great.
yeah, very good. And I'm getting
Did
a
you
bit
like
of
my
stick.
technique?
Very good indeed. I'm getting a bit of stick from the North because I said that, Neil Lennon was talking about his squad selection and all that for the forthcoming game. And I said, it's actually not a very difficult job at the moment, managing Celtic. There's no opposition. And then, to balance it up, I said, and Ali McCoy's celebrating winning the First Division. Actually, that's not a very difficult job at the moment either, if you're Rangers. And now they've got the
It's very
championship
dangerous
next season.
to enter into that kind of debate
on
social media.
You've got to be very careful indeed. In one of those pictures, you are pictured as though you're in some sort of concentration camp with barbed wire surrounding you. What's that all about?
Oh, that was a poster, because I was on this other station, which TalkSport used to own, actually, called Talk 107, and I had the thing called the Independent Republic of Mike Graham, and they for some reason, decided to do a massive advertising campaign based around me, which involved putting me on the side of, it was like the girl from Sex and the City,
and just,
on the side of buses, on the side of taxis, on big sort of 90-sheet posters all over the place.
Just remind me, the status of Talk 107 in Scotland these days
It was shut down.
Shut down.
But I can tell you...
Did that follow the poster campaign?
It did, yeah. Well, I mean, it wasn't my idea. It was not,
Yeah,
it
sorry.
was-
Just a reminder to TalkSport management, please. Don't ever put Mike Graham's face on
hang
a
on.
poster anywhere.
No, that was
because
not why it
it'll
was
be the
shut
end
down.
of this station.
That was not why it was shut down. But I did think it was a bit rash of them to spend all sorts of money when there wasn't really very much money coming in.
Yeah.
But obviously, I'm not going to reveal the name of the person who came up with that particular idea. They
Right.
didn't shut the station down while I was still there. Actually, I'll tell you what, it only shut after I left.
Yeah, well, of course it did.
Because
you wrecked it and then pushed off south and left the debris to the poor people who had to stay in
It
Scotland.
was very popular when I was still on it. But,
Oh, yeah,
as soon as
sure.
I left it, the audience figures plummeted. But funnily enough, it reminded me when I saw that I'm sure there was a time when I used to see taxis driving around with your face on them.
Yeah, there was. You know where the King's Road is? Obviously, a very popular road in London. If you go down the bottom of the King's Road, I think it's Lower King's Road.
Yeah.
And there's a
By
bend
the World's End.
Yeah, that's right.
The World's
bend
End pub.
at the bottom. That's
Very
right.
close to Stamford Bridge.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. Well, Stamford Bridge is on the Parallel Road, Fulham Road, isn't
Yeah.
it? But anyway, you're absolutely
it's
right.
close to Stamford
You
Bridge.
go around the bend there, there's this massive, billboard, and my face on it, and the number of people who told me they crashed their car on that bend because they couldn't believe that, the face of the Portmeister was almost like devouring them. You almost drive straight into it.
Yeah.
But you're absolutely right.
Horrendous.
But
it's never a good idea for anyone on radio to be on advertising.
I think you'll find, Mike, that since the days of that poster campaign, the number of people listening to TalkSport has tripled, whereas since your poster campaign in Scotland, the station closed down. That says it all.
Well,
that says it
you're
all
not
to
on
me.
TalkSport anymore, but that's another story altogether. Now, here's another story I wanted to mention to you, because you go wandering about across the Epsom Downs. You're going to be in shorts this weekend, so if anybody said we should offer a health warning for anybody who's liable to run into you. But because you're a bit of a curious character.
Curious?
You're always going up to people that you don't know, aren't you, and talking to them.
No.
Yeah, you are.
No, I don't.
You're always telling me that you meet people all over the place, and either they come up to you and talk to you, and you have a conversation with them. And there's a piece here, right, which says, from a team from Princeton, you know where Princeton is, don't you? Over in New Jersey, one of the old Ivy League schools.
Yes.
And the University of Glasgow, which you might be
Glasgow.
more familiar with. It says that research shows that we judge someone within half a second of hearing their voice, and we can make instant assumptions without seeing what the person looks like. So you make a judgment about people that you meet, a stranger, for example, literally in half a second.
I can do that. I do that instantly. In fact, my impression of somebody is formed from the moment I set eyes on them. I don't even need to hear their voice.
Well, this is apparently even on the phone you can do it.
You can do it on the phone or anything like you want like that. But I make up my mind immediately. No, I don't go around talking to people, Mike. If people want to talk to me, I'm very hospitable.
Well,
That's not a
whenever I'm
problem.
out with you, if I turn around in 2 seconds and you're away talking to somebody else.
But that's because somebody approaches
That's
me
what
and wants to
happened
talk
with
to me.
the Steve Sherwood incident was like that.
No,
we were supposedly walking out of White Hart Lane, and suddenly you were over there going, "Oh, hi, Steve."
No, Tim.
Yeah, it's Steve,
Tim,
you called him.
It's a ridiculous story. I called him Steve. You know full well who Steve Sherwood is, the goalkeeper.
Hey, did I tell you, by the way, apparently Neil
Warnock.
Warnock called him Steve Sherwood on breakfast the other day.
Did he?
So obviously it's catching.
No, it's not. It's not catching at all, Mike. Whenever I am out, if I'm walking Epsom Down to something, I keep myself to myself. If I go into a pub for a refreshing pint of shandy afterwards, I always take the table or the seat right at the back end of the pub. I keep myself to myself, and
well, apparently you don't.
I do
because you go up to the bar and you fume behind whoever it is that's buying coffee, whoever it is that's paying with a credit card,
I do.
whoever it is that's upsetting you.
I do.
Because you can't get your alcohol down your throat fast enough.
No, it's not that. It's just that service should be a prerequisite of any
Prerequisite.
part of the service industry, which this country is now built on. We haven't got industry left, of course. There's no heavy industry.
What about the banana guy?
What about the banana guy?
Well, isn't that industry?
Well, that's import. That's
well,
import.
Yeah, I know,
that's
but there's
fine.
docks, though. That's the case. It doesn't just come in. There isn't one guy standing there handing the bananas out to
But
people.
what I'm saying is, we don't have any industry anymore. We don't build our own cars. We just put them together from other people's parts, OK? We don't manufacture trains.
We do manufacture some trains. There's a place in the Midlands.
But it's a German company.
Yeah, I know.
And they're
but we
called
still make them.
Bombardier.
Yeah, that's right.
Bombardier.
We still make them, though.
Yeah, but the Germans own the heavy industry bit because that's what Germans do. They have loads of heavy industry. We gave up our heavy industry a long time. We don't build any ships anymore.
We didn't just give it up,
We
did
do
we?
not build. Why don't we build any ships? We're a maritime nation.
No, because it's too expensive to build ships in this country because the union started charging too much money. That's
Well,
why.
yeah, but I think you'll find, Mike, because I'm a student of economics, that a lot of the outsourcing that happened in those days is now coming back to this country.
Oh, is it?
A lot of firms who sent out all their production facilities to places like India and China are now bringing them back.
Like who?
Well, I don't know who.
You don't know who?
I'm
You just
telling
made
you.
this up.
No. They're bringing them back.
So we're going to start making planes
Because
and trains and automobiles
the
again,
pace, well, I hope so. The pace of growth now in the emerging economies is at a level where it's now more costly to ship
Rubbish.
the stuff back here than it is to make it here. No, that's not rubbish. That's true.
Absolutely not
That
true
is
at all.
true. I'm telling you, I know of a computer company. I don't know its name, but I read about it the other day, and it is.
And what's it doing, this computer company with no name?
Well, it's manufacturing the chips.
Oh, is it?
And
well, we've always done that. We've
No,
got
no,
a mini
no.
Silicon Valley in Scotland. Did
well,
you
I
not
think
know
it's
that?
not the chips. I think it's the circuit boards.
Is it?
And the things that you put
Do you know
into.
what a circuit board is in a computer?
Yeah, of course I do. It's like if I look at my computer
You
here
are
now
a
in this
complete
TalkSport
Luddite when
studio.
it comes
No.
when it comes-
No.
You still can't even work out how to get onto iTunes. You don't even know how to use your phone. You don't even know how to use chargers on your phone.
I tell
you
you,
have no idea what you're doing with new technology.
I have read a great line somewhere today that by 2017, now this is the only thing that, in my view, the European Union have done which is of any value whatsoever. Most things they do are ridiculous and nonsensical regulations which, completely wreck the way of life here in this country. But they are demanding a common phone charger for all phones by 2017.
Oh, yeah.
That's brilliant. How many phone chargers have you got at home?
Well, probably at least 24, I should think.
I've got more than that because living in two separate places and always having an overnight bag in the back of my car for...
Why?
Well,
just
because...
in case you meet someone.
No. Ever since the days when you and I were reporters and had to shoot off at short notice down to the
but you don't
Bahamas.
have to do that anymore.
Or, it doesn't matter.
Nobody's going to call you and say, get on the next plane to Abu Dhabi, are they?
Doesn't matter, man. Doesn't matter. Be prepared. I always travel with my passport and an overnight bag. And in that overnight bag, there's a phone charger. So every time I get a phone, I have to have at least 3 phone chargers.
Right.
I leave at least 2 of them in a hotel a year, which means another 2.
What do you do that for?
Well, because I forget to take them out the wall when I
see.
leave. And so that means for most phones, how long does your phone last? 18 months or something like that. I've probably got 5 or 6 chargers per phone. And like you, probably
Well, why
have a
don't you
dozen
just
phones.
recycle them?
Sorry?
Why don't you just recycle them?
But what do you mean recycle?
You can recycle electrical products.
No, you can't. Don't be
you can.
ridiculous. What do you expect me to do? Take you along to some
Take it-
recycling shop
yeah.
and say, here.
Oh, exactly. And you can give them to charity and they'll sell them on to somebody and they'll be able to, create new phones from them and new chargers.
Who'd want an old phone? Why
Loads
would you
of
give
people
somebody
do.
an old phone?
There's loads of people who want old phones.
nonsense. Mate, you can
Trouble you
recycle
is you're
glass.
selfish.
You can recycle glass because you can melt glass down
Yeah.
and make more glass products. You can recycle metal along the same lines. You can recycle newspapers and make papier-mâché. And
Papier-mâché.
Yeah, that's what I said. And but you cannot recycle phones.
You can't
Nonsense.
recycle you, that's for sure.
Utter nonsense.
We are the 2 Mikes, Mike Parry and Mike Graham. We'll be back, of course, on Monday night. Get the podcast later on. It'll be available from iTunes. Mr. Parry, thank you very much indeed. Have a very pleasant weekend.
It's been a pleasure.
Don't eat too much sugar and keep away from the strangers as well.